We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Perfect Lives and Perfect Lies. Daniel Lockwood adjusted his platinum cufflinks, a gift from Miranda 5 years ago, as he observed the dining room from the kitchen doorway. The Waterford crystal chandelier illuminated their guests' faces in a warm glow, each one oblivious to the storm about to break. He checked his Patek Philippe watch, 8:45 p.m. 15 minutes until dessert. 15 minutes until he'd detonate the bomb that would shatter their carefully constructed facade. More wine, sir? Thompson, their butler of 12 years, held a bottle of 1982 Chateau Lafite Rothschild. Not yet, Thompson. Save it for the toast. Daniel's voice carried the same controlled authority that had made him Chicago's most feared corporate defense attorney. At 52, he'd built an empire on his ability to remain calm while destroying his opponents. Through the doorway, he studied his wife, Miranda Powell Lockwood, holding court at the center of their imported mahogany dining table. Her emerald Vera Wang dress caught the light as she laughed at something Randolph Phelps had said. Her perfectly manicured hand touched Phelps's sleeve, a gesture Daniel had seen countless times in the security footage from the Grand Hyatt. "Mom, can I be excused?" Kendra's voice cut through the dinner party chatter. His 15-year-old daughter sat rigid in her chair, her plate of truffle pasta barely touched. "Absolutely not," Miranda snapped, her smile never wavering. "This is a celebration. Show some support for once." Daniel's jaw tightened. The security footage from the beach house played in his mind. His daughter accidentally walking in on her mother and Uncle Mike, Miranda's subsequent threats about boarding school. The PI's report sat in his office safe, along with the USB drive containing 3 months of surveillance data. "Let her stay, Miranda," Mike Powell called from the far end of the table. "She's old enough to understand the importance of family celebrations." He raised his wine glass, his wedding ring catching the light, the same ring visible in the beach house footage. Daniel moved to the head of the table, champagne flute in hand. The Criterion Pharmaceuticals board members, all 7 of them, turned their attention to him. Beverly Browning, the CFO, adjusted her pearls nervously. She'd been the easiest to investigate, her gambling debts leaving a trail a first-year law student could follow. "Friends, family, colleagues," Daniel began, his voice carrying the same resonance that had swayed countless juries. "We're here tonight to celebrate Miranda's promotion to regional manager at Criterion, a position she's worked diligently to achieve." Miranda beamed, raising her own glass. The 5-carat diamond ring on her finger, another gift from him, sparkled mockingly. "In fact," Daniel continued, "I'd like to share just how diligently my wife has worked." He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. "Would anyone like to guess how many board members my wife slept with to secure this promotion?" The silence crashed through the room like a physical force. Miranda's wine glass slipped from her fingers, splashing Bordeaux across the imported tablecloth. Her face, carefully maintained through years of Botox and fillers, froze in an expression of horror. "Daniel, what are you?" she began, but he cut her off. "Let's start with you, Randy." Daniel turned to Phelps, whose aristocratic features had turned ashen. "The Grand Hyatt, room 1508, every Tuesday for the past 6 months. You should really be more careful about using your corporate card for the room service." Randolph Phelps stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "This is outrageous. I won't sit here and—" "Sit down, Randy." Daniel's voice could have frozen hell itself. "We're just getting started. Beverly, would you like to explain why my wife visited your private villa in Aspen 9 times this year? Or should we discuss the offshore accounts you two set up together?" Beverly Browning clutched her pearls, looking like she might faint. Around the table, the other board members began to shift uncomfortably. "Christian Kelly," Daniel continued, turning to the head of research and development. "How's your second family in Boston? The one you've been supporting with embezzled company funds?" Miranda was quite helpful in covering those transactions, wasn't she? "Daddy, stop." Kendra's voice cracked with emotion. "No, sweetheart. They need to hear this." Daniel's expression softened momentarily as he looked at his daughter. "Tell them what you saw at the beach house." Tears streamed down Kendra's face as she looked at her uncle. I saw them, Mom and Uncle Mike, in the beach house last summer. Mom said if I told anyone, she'd send me to boarding school in Switzerland. She said Dad would lose everything, and it would be my fault. Mike Powell's face turned purple. Miranda, you said she didn't see anything. Oh, she saw everything, Mike. Daniel's voice dripped with contempt. Just like the security cameras I had installed after the first anonymous tip. He turned to his wife. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate? That I wouldn't discover every single affair, manipulated promotion, dirty little secret? Miranda stood up, her emerald dress rustling. You bastard. You set this up? No, Miranda. You set this up. I just played it better. He pulled out another envelope. Divorce papers. Don't bother contesting them. Your alternative is federal prosecution for corporate fraud. The room erupted into chaos. Board members scrambled for the door, leaving half-empty wine glasses and barely touched plates of food. Only Randolph Phelps remained, his face a mask of cold fury. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Lockwood, he snarled. By tomorrow morning, your reputation will be in tatters. We've been preparing for this possibility. Daniel's smile was that of a predator. Interesting threat, Randy. Almost as interesting as the evidence I have of your money laundering through those shell companies in the Cayman Islands. Would you like to discuss that now? Or should we save it for the SEC? Phelps's face went from red to white in seconds. Daniel turned back to Miranda, who stood trembling with rage. Did you tell your lovers about the trust fund, Miranda? The one with the fidelity clause? Or about the prenup's infidelity riders? He loosened his tie slightly. Pack a bag, Kendra. We're staying at the peninsula tonight. You can't do this to me, Miranda hissed. I made you. Your precious law firm would be nothing without my family's connections. Your family's connections? Daniel laughed coldly. You mean the same connections I've spent the last 3 months systematically destroying? Check your phone, Miranda. The Times is running an interesting story tomorrow about Criterion's board of directors. He turned to his daughter, who sat shaking in her chair. Come on, sweetheart. Thompson will help you pack. As they walked toward the door, Miranda's voice rang out, shrill and desperate. Kendra, tell him he's lying. Tell him you never saw anything. Kendra stopped, her young face showing a strength that made Daniel proud. I saw everything, Mom. Everything. And I'll never forgive you. The last thing Daniel saw as he led his daughter out was Miranda lunging for another wine bottle, her perfect life shattered like the crystal glass at her feet. Chapter 2. The Fall. The Peninsula Hotel's presidential suite offered a panoramic view of Chicago's skyline, but Daniel Lockwood's attention was fixed on his laptop screen. The clock showed 11:30 p.m., exactly 2 hours and 45 minutes since he detonated his carefully planned explosion at the dinner party. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing with notifications. The Chicago Tribune had already picked up the story, their website featuring a carefully crafted piece about potential misconduct at Criterion Pharmaceuticals. Daniel had planted that story weeks ago, timing it perfectly with tonight's revelation. In the adjacent room, he could hear Kendra talking quietly with the hotel's trauma counselor, another piece he'd arranged in advance. He'd learned long ago that true victory required preparing for every contingency. A knock at the suite's door interrupted his thoughts. The hotel's security chief, Marcus Rodriguez, entered with a tablet in hand. Mr. Lockwood, Mrs. Powell Lockwood, is in the lobby, demanding to see her daughter. Daniel didn't look up from his laptop. Is she alone? No, sir. Mr. Phelps and Mr. Powell are with her. Show me the security feed. Rodriguez handed over the tablet. Miranda stood in the lobby, her emerald dress now wrinkled, her perfectly styled hair disheveled. Randolph Phelps paced behind her, barking into his phone, while Mike Powell sat slumped in a leather chair, his head in his hands. Maintain the no-access order, Daniel instructed. If they become disruptive, remind them that the hotel security footage is automatically archived. Yes, sir. Rodriguez paused. Sir, Mrs. Powell Lockwood is claiming you've kidnapped your daughter. Now Daniel looked up, his expression reminiscent of a shark sensing blood. Is she? Interesting. Please make sure your security team records everything she says. My attorney will need it for the custody hearing. After Rodriguez left, Daniel opened his safe and removed a thick file. Inside were photographs, bank statements, hotel receipts, and surveillance reports, 3 months of evidence meticulously compiled. He began sorting them into 3 piles: criminal evidence for the FBI, financial evidence for the SEC, and personal evidence for the divorce proceedings. His phone buzzed with a text from Gloria Simmons. "Miranda retained me. Meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. Gloria was exactly who he'd expected Miranda to call. He'd spent weeks feeding her case information that would ensure she'd take Miranda's case. Brilliant but predictable, Gloria would follow a strategy he'd already planned for. The door to Kendra's room opened, and the trauma counselor emerged. "Mr. Lockwood, your daughter would like to speak with you." Daniel found Kendra curled up in an oversized armchair, her face pale but composed. She'd changed into pajamas, but her posture remained rigid, defensive. "You knew," she said as he sat down across from her. "You knew about Mom and Uncle Mike." "Yes." "How long?" "I received the first anonymous tip 3 months ago." He studied his daughter's face. "Why didn't you come to me when you saw them at the beach house?" Kendra's lower lip trembled. "Mom said, she said you'd lose everything. The firm, the house, everything. She said it would be my fault, and you'd never forgive me." Then she started talking about this fancy boarding school in Switzerland, showing me brochures. Daniel's hands clenched into fists, but his voice remained steady. "Listen to me very carefully, Kendra. Nothing in this world could make me love you less. Your mother's actions are her responsibility, not yours. What happens now? Now we rebuild. You'll continue at Chicago Prep. I've already spoken with Headmaster Sullivan about the situation. You'll start seeing Dr. Moyer for therapy sessions. She's the best adolescent psychologist in the city. And you'll never have to worry about being sent away." A noise from the living room interrupted them. Raised voices in the hallway. Daniel walked to the door, opening it to find Thompson, their butler, facing off against Miranda and Randolph Phelps. "Step aside, Thompson," Miranda demanded. "I want to see my daughter." "Mrs. Powell Lockwood, I'm afraid I can't do that." Thompson's loyalty had been well-earned over the years and well-compensated. Daniel emerged from the room, closing the door behind him. "Miranda, Randy, this is becoming harassment." "Harassment?" Miranda's laugh was brittle. "You destroy my life in front of our friends and colleagues, and you want to talk about harassment?" "I destroyed nothing," Daniel replied coldly. "You did that yourself, one affair at a time." Randolph stepped forward, his expensive suit wrinkled, his typical aristocratic composure shattered. "This isn't over, Lockwood. We have contingencies." "Your contingencies?" Daniel's smile was terrible to behold. "You mean the offshore accounts? The shell companies? Or perhaps you're referring to the false evidence you've been manufacturing against me." He pulled out his phone, showing them an email. "You really should be more careful about your digital footprints, Randy. The SEC finds them fascinating." Miranda's face went pale. "You wouldn't dare. You'll destroy everything. The company, the shareholders. The company will survive. Under new management, of course." Daniel's voice hardened. "Now leave before I have security remove you. And Miranda, don't bother trying to contest the divorce. Your prenup's infidelity clause is quite specific about multiple affairs with business associates." As they turned to leave, Miranda spun back. Kendra, please. Tell your father he's making a mistake." The door to Kendra's room remained closed. Daniel stepped closer to his wife, his voice dropping to a whisper. "She's done covering for you, Miranda. We all are." After they left, Daniel returned to Kendra's room. She sat in the same chair, but her posture had changed, stronger, more resolved. "Did you hear?" he asked. "Yes." She met his gaze. "Dad? Thank you for not letting her in." Daniel sat down beside his daughter. "I meant what I said earlier. Nothing in this world could make me love you less. Your mother made her choices. Now we make ours." As Kendra finally drifted off to sleep, Daniel returned to the living room and his laptop. The Chicago Tribune's website had updated again. Criterion Pharmaceuticals board members faced scrutiny over financial irregularities. Phase 1 was complete. Tomorrow, the real war would begin. Chapter 3: The Players. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Daniel's corner office at Lockwood and Associates, illuminating the Wall Street Journal spread across his desk. The headline read, "Criterion Pharmaceuticals stock plummets amid board scandal." His secretary, Celeste Avery, entered with his morning coffee, black, no sugar. After 20 years as his secretary, she knew better than to offer condolences or sympathy. Instead, she placed a stack of files on his desk. "The dossiers you requested, Mr. Lockwood. Complete backgrounds on each board member." She paused. Ms. Powell, Lockwood's attorney, called again. "Gloria Simmons. Tell her I'll see her in court." Daniel opened the first file. Beverly Browning, Chief Financial Officer. 3 kids in private school, a gambling addiction carefully hidden from her family, and a series of suspicious wire transfers to offshore accounts. Also, Celeste continued, Mr. Chun from the SE called. He said the tip about the Cayman Islands accounts proved fruitful. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. "Send him the rest of the files we discussed. And get me Judge Martinez on the phone." As Celeste left, Daniel moved to the next file. Christian Kelly, Head of Research and Development. The second family in Boston had been surprisingly easy to uncover. Kelly had used company funds to maintain a separate household for his mistress and their 2 children. His phone buzzed with a text from Randolph. "We need to talk." Another file, Michael Powell, his soon-to-be ex-brother-in-law. The beach house incident had been just one in a long string of indiscretions. Mike's wife, Bernadette, would receive her own special delivery of evidence later today. The intercom buzzed. "Judge Martinez on line 1, Mr. Lockwood." Daniel picked up the phone. "Arthur?" "Yes, about those sealed records we discussed." "Excellent. And the custody hearing?" "Perfect. No, Miranda won't be expecting it so soon." "Yes, I have documentation of the threat to send our daughter away. Multiple witnesses." As he hung up, another text arrived. This one from Miranda. "You're making a mistake. We can fix this." Daniel opened his laptop, pulling up the surveillance footage from the beach house. He'd watched it countless times, seen his daughter's face as she discovered her mother's betrayal, heard Miranda's threats about boarding school. Each viewing strengthened his resolve. Celeste entered again. "Mr. Lockwood? Tiffany Malone is here." Tiffany Malone, a junior executive at Criterion, entered the office. Her tailored suit couldn't hide her nervousness as she clutched a leather portfolio to her chest. 5 years ago, Daniel had helped her avoid a DUI charge that would have derailed her career. Now it was time to collect on that favor. "Ms. Malone." Daniel gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Thank you for coming." "Mr. Lockwood." She sat down, her knuckles white against the portfolio. "I have what you asked for. Documentation of all the harassment incidents. Emails, text messages, recorded conversations." Daniel accepted the portfolio, opening it to reveal dozens of printed emails and transcripts. "And you're willing to testify?" "Yes." Tiffany's voice strengthened. "After what they did to Sarah in accounting, what they try to do to me, yes, I'll testify." "Good." Daniel pressed the intercom. "Celeste, get Ms. Malone an appointment with Gloria Richards at the DA's office." After Tiffany left, Daniel reviewed the new evidence. The pattern was clear. Board members using their positions to pressure female employees, Miranda facilitating their behavior in exchange for support. The portfolio contained enough ammunition to destroy half the board without touching his other evidence. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Miranda. "The children at my school charity event. Think about them before you do this." Daniel's jaw tightened. The charity event. Another of Miranda's manipulations. He opened a drawer and pulled out financial records showing how she'd been skimming from the charity's accounts. The intercom buzzed once more. "Mr. Lockwood?" "Detective Phillips is on line 2. Daniel picked up the phone. "James?" "Yes, I received the hotel security footage." "No, I don't want them arrested yet. Just keep building the case." "Yes, all the financial records have been verified." He hung up and turned to the window, watching the Chicago skyline. In one day, he detonated Miranda's perfect life, exposed the board's corruption, and set in motion a chain of events that would reshape Criterion Pharmaceuticals. But this was just the beginning. Celeste appeared in the doorway. "Sir, your daughter's school called." Kendra had a panic attack in class. Daniel was already reaching for his coat. "Cancel my afternoon." "And Celeste? When Gloria Simmons calls again, tell her I'll see her tomorrow." 9 a.m. sharp. The drive to Chicago Preparatory Academy gave Daniel time to think. He'd anticipated move, planned for contingency, but seeing his daughter suffer still cut deep. The school counselor met him at the entrance. "Mr. Lockwood, Kendra's in my office." Some students were discussing the Tribune article. In the counselor's office, Kendra sat curled in a chair, her school uniform wrinkled, her face tear-stained. She looked up as Daniel entered. "They know, Dad. Everyone knows." Daniel knelt beside her chair. "Of course they know. Your mother's affairs were never meant to stay secret. I told you, we're not covering for her anymore. But the things they're saying will pass." Daniel's voice was firm. "You know the truth. That's what matters." As they left the school, Daniel's phone lit up with another message. This one from Randolph Phelps. "Last chance, Lockwood. Back off, or everything burns." Daniel showed the message to his daughter. "See that? They're scared. When people are scared, they make threats. What are you going to do?" "Nothing." Daniel smiled. The same smile that had terrorized opposing counsel for decades. "I'm going to let them make mistakes. Then I'm going to make them pay for each one." They reached the car just as another text arrived from Bernadette Powell, Mike's wife. "Got your package. Meeting with my divorce attorney tomorrow." Daniel started the engine, glancing at his daughter. "Remember what I said about consequences? Watch and learn, sweetheart. Watch and learn." The first act of his revenge play was complete. The board was in chaos, Miranda's reputation was in tatters, and the dominoes were beginning to fall. Soon, very soon, they would all understand exactly what it meant to betray Daniel Lockwood. But for now, he had a daughter to protect and a war to plan. Tomorrow would bring new battles, new opportunities for revenge. Tonight was for healing, for strengthening the bonds that Miranda had tried to destroy. As they drove home, Daniel's phone continued to buzz with messages from panicked board members, desperate attorneys, and journalists seeking comments. He ignored them all. The time for talking was over. The war had begun. Chapter 4. Countermoves. The Chicago Tribune's headline glared from Daniel Lockwood's desk. Prominent attorney fabricates evidence against wife. Miranda's first counterattack had arrived right on schedule. "They're not very creative, are they?" Daniel mused, scanning the article. The byline belonged to James Harrison, a reporter known for his connection to Randolph Phelps. The piece painted Daniel as a controlling husband who'd manufactured evidence to avoid a costly divorce settlement. His phone rang, the private line reserved for his most trusted contacts. The other papers received the package, reported Marcus Chun, his lead investigator. The Post is running with the affairs angle. The Sun-Times is focusing on the financial impropriety at Criterion. And the photos? Crystal clear. Time stamps intact. Hotel security footage matches perfectly. Daniel ended the call and opened his laptop. Criterion stock had dropped 12 points in the first hour of trading. The board would be panicking now, scrambling to contain the damage. He'd anticipated this response, had counted on it. His intercom buzzed. "Mr. Lockwood? Tiffany Malone is here." Tiffany entered, clutching a thick manila envelope. 5 years ago, she'd been a promising junior executive at Criterion until a board member's unwanted advances derailed her career. Daniel had helped her avoid a DUI charge back then, keeping her record clean. Now she was returning the favor. "Everything's here," she said, placing the envelope on his desk. "Emails, text messages, recordings. 6 other women are willing to testify." Daniel reviewed the documents. Each page revealed another layer of harassment and corruption. "The timing needs to be perfect. When the board meets this afternoon, I know my part." Tiffany's voice held steel. "They destroyed Sarah's career. They tried to destroy mine. I want them to burn." After she left, Daniel called his realtor. The penthouse apartment he'd purchased months ago. His contingency plan was ready. He'd move Kendra there today, away from the media circus gathering outside their home. His phone buzzed with a text from Miranda. "You're making a mistake. The press already thinks you're unstable." Daniel ignored it, focusing instead on the email from Dr. Stephanie Moyer. The therapist had an opening for Kendra this afternoon. He'd vetted Dr. Moyer extensively. Her reputation for helping adolescents through family trauma was unmatched. The intercom buzzed again. "Sir? Your daughter's school is on line 1. Daniel picked up the phone. Headmaster Sullivan? Yes, I saw the reporters. No, Kendra won't be attending classes this week. Yes, I've arranged for private tutoring. Her grades won't suffer. He found Kendra waiting in the outer office, her school bag clutched to her chest. 2 security guards flanked her, a necessary precaution given Miranda's unpredictability. Ready for an adventure? Daniel asked, keeping his tone light. Is it true? What they're saying in the papers? No, but we knew they'd try this. Remember what I told you about chess? Kendra nodded. The best players think 5 moves ahead. Exactly. Now, how do you feel about a penthouse view? The new apartment occupied the top floor of a secure building overlooking Lake Michigan. Daniel had furnished it weeks ago, recreating Kendra's room exactly. Another move planned well in advance. This is... Kendra trailed off, taking in the space. Home. For now. Daniel checked his watch. You have an appointment with Dr. Moyer in an hour. She's going to help you process everything. Dad? Kendra's voice wavered. Why didn't I tell you sooner? About the beach house. Daniel sat beside her on the leather couch. Your mother manipulated you. Used your love for me as a weapon. Said we'd lose everything if you spoke up. She said you'd never forgive me. That it would be my fault. Nothing in this world could make me love you less. Remember that. Daniel squeezed her hand. Now, let's get you to Dr. Moyer. While Kendra was in therapy, Daniel monitored Criterion stock price. The board had called an emergency meeting, exactly as he'd predicted. His phone buzzed with a text from his source inside the building. They're panicking. Browning keeps checking her phone. Perfect. Beverly Browning, the CFO, had always been the weak link. Her gambling debts made her vulnerable, desperate. When the FBI received their anonymous tip about her offshore accounts, she'd be the first to break. Dr. Moyer's report arrived via encrypted email. Kendra shows signs of manipulation-induced trauma. Mother's threats about boarding school created severe anxiety. Recommend twice-weekly sessions. Daniel forwarded the report to his attorney. More ammunition for the custody battle ahead. His phone rang again. This time, it was Gloria Simmons, Miranda's lawyer. Daniel, be reasonable. A quiet settlement. Gloria, we both know why Miranda chose you. Your reputation for negotiating generous divorce settlements. But this isn't a negotiation. It's an execution. The media will have new headlines tomorrow. Check the afternoon edition. He hung up as another text arrived from Randolph Phelps. Board meeting in chaos. What do you want? Daniel smiled. The pieces were moving exactly as planned. By day's end, Beverly Browning would be in FBI custody, Christian Kelly's second family would be exposed, and the board would be fighting for survival. His phone buzzed one final time. A message from Miranda. You're destroying everything we built. No, Daniel typed back. I'm destroying everything you destroyed first. That evening, as Daniel helped Kendra with her algebra homework, the news broke. FBI raids Criterion Pharmaceuticals, CFO in custody. Phase 2 was complete. Tomorrow would bring new battles, new opportunities for justice. He watched his daughter solve equations, her face set in concentration. Miranda had threatened to send her away. Instead, she'd lost everything herself. Sometimes justice wore the face of revenge. Chapter 5, Battlefield Promotions. Beverly Browning's arrest triggered a chain reaction exactly as Daniel had planned. The FBI's investigation revealed offshore accounts, wire transfers, and a web of financial manipulation that reached into the highest levels of Criterion Pharmaceuticals. They found everything, reported Special Agent Sarah Martinez. The gambling debts, the embezzled funds, the kickbacks. She's talking. Daniel leaned back in his office chair, reviewing the latest court filings. And the evidence I provided about the other board members? Rock solid. Christian Kelly's second family in Boston? We matched the wire transfers to his corporate expense accounts. He's been embezzling company funds for years. The news coverage had shifted. No more stories about Daniel's supposed instability. Now the headlines screamed of corporate corruption and financial fraud. Criterion stock had dropped another 20 points. His intercom buzzed. Mr. Lockwood? Mrs. Kelly is here. Amanda Kelly, Christian's wife of 25 years, stormed into the office clutching a manila envelope. Is it true? About the family in Boston? 2 children, Daniel replied, sliding photos across his desk. Ages 6 and 4. Your husband's been supporting them with company money. There's a house in Beacon Hill, private school tuition, trust funds. Amanda's hands shook as she examined the evidence. All these years. I thought the late nights, the business trips. Mrs. Kelly, I've taken the liberty of contacting Patricia Morgan. She's the best divorce attorney in Chicago. She's expecting your call. After Amanda left, Daniel checked his messages. 3 more board members had resigned, their own secrets threatening to surface. Only Randolph Phelps and Michael Powell remained. Speaking of Mike, Daniel opened his laptop, accessing the surveillance footage from various hotels. His brother-in-law's infidelities went beyond Miranda. 3 other women, all documented, all verified. Time to contact Bernadette Powell. Bernadette arrived within the hour, her prosecutor's instincts already alert. Daniel, this better be good. He wordlessly played the video footage. Mike with Miranda at the beach house. Mike with a junior associate at the Drake Hotel. Mike with a client's wife at the Four Seasons. I'll destroy him, Bernadette said quietly. I know. Daniel handed her a USB drive. Everything's here. Hotel receipts, bank statements, photographs. Your divorce attorney will find it very useful. Why tell me? Because you're a state prosecutor, and Mike's actions have compromised cases. Because he helped Miranda threaten my daughter. Because justice wears many faces. Bernadette's smile was razor-sharp. I always liked you, Daniel. Even when Miranda said you were controlling, I knew better. You were just waiting, weren't you? Building your case? Justice requires patience. After she left, Daniel received another update from the FBI. Christian Kelly had cracked under questioning, implicating other board members in various financial schemes. The dominoes were falling faster now. His phone rang. Randolph Phelps. This has to stop, Lockwood. The company will survive. Under new management. Daniel's voice held no mercy. How's your own investigation going, Randy? Found the leak yet? Silence, then. What do you want? You'll know soon enough. That evening, Daniel took Kendra to dinner at her favorite restaurant. She'd had another session with Dr. Moyer, who reported progress in addressing the trauma from Miranda's manipulation. The kids at school are talking, Kendra said, pushing her pasta around. About Mom, about Uncle Mike. Let them talk. The truth is coming out piece by piece. That's what matters. Dad, what happens next? Daniel studied his daughter's face. So much stronger now than that night at the dinner party. Justice happens next. One piece at a time. His phone buzzed with a news alert. Criterion Board member resigns amid second family scandal. Another piece in place. The next morning brought more resignations, more revelations. The media had shifted completely to Daniel's side, painting him as the whistleblower who'd exposed corporate corruption. Mike Powell's downfall came swiftly. Bernadette had been thorough, using her prosecutor's resources to uncover even more infidelities. By noon, he'd been served with divorce papers. By evening, his law license was under review. You destroyed my brother, Miranda texted. He destroyed himself, Daniel replied. Just like you. The board was crumbling. Only Randolph Phelps remained, clinging to power even as his empire collapsed. But Daniel had saved his best evidence for last. Chapter 6, The Convert. Randolph Phelps's last stand began with a desperate gambit. The morning papers carried his counterattack. Allegations that Daniel had tampered with witnesses, manufactured evidence, manipulated the investigation. Daniel read the accusations with amusement. Phelps had played exactly as expected, reaching for the only weapon left in his arsenal. Attack the accuser's credibility. Sir? Celeste appeared in his doorway. Agent Martinez is here. Sarah Martinez entered, carrying a thick file. Your timing was perfect, counselor. We found everything exactly where you said it would be. Daniel reviewed the FBI's findings. Phelps's own attempts to obstruct justice, recorded conversations of him threatening witnesses, digital trails of evidence tampering, all carefully documented and preserved. He's going to claim entrapment, Martinez warned. Let him. The evidence speaks for itself. His phone buzzed. Phelps again. We need to talk. In person. The meeting was set for Daniel's office. Phelps arrived looking haunted, his usual aristocratic confidence shattered. "Witness tampering?" Daniel said by way of greeting. "That's the best you could do. You set me up?" Phelps paced the office. "All of it. Beverly's arrest, Kelly's exposure, Mike's divorce. You orchestrated everything." "No, Randy. You did this to yourself. You and Miranda and the rest of the board. I just gathered the evidence. Evidence you've been collecting for months?" Phelps spun to face him. "The hotel footage, the financial records, the offshore accounts. You knew about all of it." "Of course I knew. Just like I knew you'd try to frame me for witness tampering. That's why I kept recordings of our conversations, including your threats." The color drained from Phelps's face. "What do you want?" "Everything. Your resignation, your shares, your testimony against Miranda. In exchange, you avoid federal prison. She'll never forgive me. That's the point." Daniel's voice held no warmth. "You helped destroy my marriage, threatened my daughter's future, corrupted my company. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? Your company?" Phelps laughed bitterly. "Criterion was never yours. Check your stock portfolio, Randy. While you were busy attacking my credibility, my shell companies were buying shares. As of this morning, I control 30% of Criterion. Add your shares, and..." Understanding dawned in Phelps's eyes. "You planned this from the beginning. The evidence, the arrests, the media coverage. It was all to drive down the stock price, making it easier to buy." Daniel slid a document across his desk. "Your resignation letter and share transfer agreement. Sign it, testify against Miranda, and you stay out of prison. Refuse, and I release everything to the FBI." Phelps stared at the document. "I trusted her, you know. Miranda. She said you were controlling, manipulative, that you destroy the company out of spite. No, Randy. I'm destroying the company to rebuild it. Without the corruption, without the affairs, without you." After Phelps left, Daniel received a text from Miranda. "Whatever he offered you, I'll double it." He didn't bother responding. The pieces were in place, the game nearly won. Phelps would sign, would testify, would help destroy the woman who'd betrayed them both. Justice wore many faces. Today, it wore the face of a broken man signing away his empire to escape prison. Tomorrow, it would wear Miranda's face as she realized her last ally had turned against her. Daniel's phone buzzed one final time. A message from Dr. Moyer. Kendra asked about seeing her mother. "No," he typed back. "Not until the divorce is final. Not until it's over." The sun set over Chicago as Daniel reviewed his next moves. The game was entering its final phase. Soon, very soon, Miranda would understand the true cost of betrayal. Chapter 7. The Queen's Gambit. The Cook County Courthouse buzzed with anticipation. Miranda Powell Lockwood sat at the defendant's table, her designer suit a stark contrast to her haggard expression. Gloria Simmons arranged papers beside her, but her usual confidence had vanished. Daniel observed them from across the courtroom. 3 months of careful preparation had led to this moment. Judge Martinez sat on the bench, reviewing the case files Daniel had strategically leaked over the past weeks. "All rise," the bailiff called. Miranda's testimony began as expected. Accusations of emotional abuse, claims of controlling behavior, allegations that Daniel had manipulated their daughter. Her performance might have been convincing if Daniel hadn't spent months preparing for exactly this moment. "Mrs. Powell Lockwood," Gloria Simmons began, "please tell the court about your relationship with your daughter." "I've always put Kendra first," Miranda declared. "Everything I did was to provide her with opportunities." Daniel, he twisted things, coerced her into making false accusations. Daniel's attorney, Richard Chun, stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to call Dr. Stephanie Moyer to the stand." Dr. Moyer approached, her professional demeanor unshakable. She'd spent months documenting Kendra's trauma, building a psychological profile that would destroy Miranda's credibility. "Dr. Moyer," Chun began, "please describe your observations regarding Kendra Lockwood's psychological state." "Kendra exhibits clear signs of manipulation-induced trauma," Dr. Moyer stated. "Her mother repeatedly threatened to send her to boarding school if she revealed the affair she witnessed. This created severe anxiety and trust issues." "Objection!" Gloria Simmons stood. "This is hearsay." "Overruled," Judge Martinez replied. Continue, Dr. Moyer. I have documented instances where Mrs. Powell Lockwood used threats of abandonment to control her daughter's behavior. The beach house incident particularly. Miranda's composure cracked. She's lying. Kendra never saw anything. Mrs. Powell Lockwood, Judge Martinez warned, control yourself. Daniel's next witness destroyed any remaining doubt. Tiffany Malone approached the stand, carrying a USB drive containing emails and text messages. These communications, Tiffany explained, show Mrs. Powell Lockwood explicitly threatening her daughter. She wrote, and I quote, "If you breathe a word about what you saw, you'll be on the first plane to Switzerland." The courtroom fell silent as the messages appeared on screens. Miranda's threats, her manipulation, her casual cruelty toward her own daughter, all laid bare. Gloria Simmons studied the evidence, her expression shifting from disbelief to resignation. She passed a note to Miranda, who crumpled it in her fist. "Your Honor," Gloria stood, her voice strained. "May we request a brief recess?" In the courthouse corridor, Daniel waited as Gloria approached him alone. "You set this up," she said quietly. "The cases you leaked to me, the evidence you slowly revealed. You wanted me to take her case. You're an excellent attorney, Gloria. Just predictable. I'm withdrawing from the case." Daniel nodded. "I know." When court resumed, Miranda sat alone at the defense table. Her new attorney wouldn't arrive for several days, another delay Daniel had orchestrated. Judge Martinez reviewed the final evidence, documentation of Miranda's affairs, financial records showing her misuse of company funds, and most damaging, her threats against Kendra. "This court takes a dim view of parental alienation," Judge Martinez declared. "The evidence clearly shows a pattern of manipulation and emotional abuse by Mrs. Powell Lockwood toward her minor child." The divorce was granted on Daniel's terms. Full custody of Kendra. Control of all marital assets. The trust fund's fidelity clause activated, leaving Miranda with nothing. As Miranda rushed from the courtroom, Daniel remained seated, reviewing his notes for tomorrow's shareholders' meeting. The divorce had been just one piece of his plan. Now came the corporate endgame. His phone buzzed, a message from Randolph Phelps, board meeting scheduled. "They don't suspect anything." Daniel smiled. Phase 1 was complete. Tomorrow would bring the final act of his revenge. Chapter 8. Corporate Warfare. The Criterion Pharmaceuticals boardroom reflected wealth and power. Brazilian rosewood table, leather chairs, abstract art worth millions. Daniel sat quietly as board members filed in, their faces tense with uncertainty. Those who remained, that is, Beverly Browning's seat sat empty. She'd taken a plea deal. Christian Kelly had resigned in disgrace. Mike Powell's nameplate had been removed after his disbarment. Randolph Phelps called the meeting to order. "As acting chairman, I move to discuss the company's response to recent events." Daniel opened his laptop, displaying a spreadsheet of share purchases. Through a network of shell companies, he'd been accumulating stock while the price plummeted. "Before we begin," Daniel interrupted, "I believe we should review the current ownership structure." The boardroom screen displayed his analysis. As understanding dawned, faces paled. "This is impossible," one director protested. "These shell companies belong to me," Daniel finished. "As does 30% of Criterion stock. Add Mr. Phelps's shares, which he transferred to me yesterday." Chaos erupted. Directors shouted accusations, threats, demands for legal representation. Daniel let them vent. "Gentlemen," he finally said, his voice cutting through the noise, "you have two options. Resign now, keep your freedom, or face federal prosecution for your roles in Beverly Browning's financial schemes." "You can't prove anything," Thomas Walsh, the oldest director, challenged. Daniel projected new documents onto the screen. "Your signature, authorizing wire transfers to offshore accounts. Your emails discussing the cover-up. Your phone records showing coordination with Beverly Browning." One by one, the directors studied their options. One by one, they chose resignation over prison. Security waited outside to escort them from the building. Years of corruption, of treating the company like their personal playground, ended in a walk of shame past employees they'd abused and exploited. Miranda arrived as the last director left, her face flushed with rage. You planned this all along. No, Daniel corrected. You did. Each affair, each corrupt deal, each threat against our daughter. You built this trap yourself. I just closed it. I made you, she screamed. My family's connections mean nothing now. Daniel nodded to security. Mrs. Powell Lockwood is no longer authorized to enter this building. As Miranda was escorted out, Randolph Phelps returned. His testimony about Miranda's role in the company's corruption had been comprehensive, damning. The SEC is announcing their investigation, Phelps reported. Criminal charges are likely. Good. Daniel reviewed the latest stock analysis. The price should stabilize once we announce the new board. She'll never recover from this. That's the point. By day's end, Criterion had a new board of directors, a new corporate structure, and a new chairman, Daniel Lockwood. The stock price began to recover as investors responded to promises of transparency and reform. His phone buzzed with a message from Miranda's criminal attorney. Deal? No deals, he typed back. Sometimes justice required complete destruction. Chapter 9, New Beginnings. 1 year later, Daniel's corner office at Criterion Pharmaceuticals offered a different view of Chicago. The company had not just survived but thrived under his leadership. The stock price had reached record highs as corrupt practices were replaced with genuine innovation. Celeste, who had followed him from his law firm, managed his new empire with familiar efficiency. She entered with his morning coffee and the latest reports. Kendra's school called, she reported. She received another academic award. Daniel reviewed his daughter's progress. After a year of therapy with Dr. Moyer, the trauma of Miranda's betrayal had faded. Kendra's grades remained perfect, her confidence restored. The intercom buzzed. Sir? Isaac Marsh is here to see you. Kendra's boyfriend stood nervously in the doorway, his straight-A reputation and student council presidency evident in his perfect posture. Mr. Lockwood. I wanted to ask your permission to take Kendra to the junior prom. Daniel studied the young man. Isaac treated Kendra with respect, understood boundaries, maintained appropriate behavior. Unlike Miranda's lovers, he valued integrity. Permission granted. But remember our discussion about curfew. Yes, sir. 11 p.m. sharp. After Isaac left, Daniel reviewed the morning's mail. A letter from Miranda caught his attention, her third attempt at contact this month. Like the others, it would return unopened. The Chicago Tribune lay on his desk, its headline announcing Miranda's conviction for corporate fraud. A smaller article noted Mike Powell's permanent disbarment. Justice delivered piece by piece. His phone buzzed, a message from Kendra. Lunch today? Of course, he replied. Their weekly lunches had become a cherished tradition, a time to discuss her future plans, her hopes, her dreams untainted by Miranda's manipulation. Celeste appeared in the doorway. Mr. Lockwood? The new board members are waiting. Daniel gathered his files. Under his leadership, Criterion had been reborn. New policies prevented harassment, protected whistleblowers, rewarded innovation rather than corruption. Sir? Celeste held out another envelope. Mrs. Powell Lockwood's attorney sent this. Final appeal denied. Daniel nodded, unsurprised. He'd ensured the evidence was irrefutable, the prosecution airtight. Miranda would serve her full sentence. The corporate world had learned a valuable lesson. Betrayal carried consequences. Each board member who had supported Miranda's affairs, each executive who had enabled her corruption, each participant in her schemes, all had paid the price. But his greatest victory sat in a high school classroom, earning top grades, planning for college, no longer afraid of being sent away. Kendra had emerged stronger, wiser, protected by a father who had destroyed an empire to keep her safe. Your daughter's here, Celeste announced. Daniel smiled, a genuine expression reserved for Kendra alone. The ruthless corporate chairman vanished, replaced by the father who had sacrificed everything to protect his child. Ready for lunch? Kendra asked, her own smile reflecting the confidence Miranda had tried to destroy. As they left his office, Daniel glanced at the newspaper one final time. The headline captured his complete victory. Former Criterion executive faces federal prison. Perfect endings, he mused, weren't about forgiveness. They were about justice, delivered without mercy to those who betrayed trust. His phone buzzed with another message, Miranda's last attempt at reconciliation. He deleted it unread. Some betrayals didn't deserve forgiveness. Some sins required complete destruction as their only penance. Daniel had lost a wife, but saved his daughter, his company, and his soul. In the end, that was all that mattered. Epilogue, 10 years later. Daniel Lockwood studied the Chicago skyline from his position at the head of Criterion Pharmaceuticals' boardroom table. At 62, his hair had turned silver, but his reputation for ruthless efficiency had only grown. Under his decade of leadership, Criterion had transformed from a scandal-plagued company into a pharmaceutical powerhouse, its stock price quadrupling as new cancer treatments and innovative therapies reached the market. The Beijing acquisition is complete, reported Sandra Chun, his chief operating officer. Third-quarter projections exceeded expectations by 20%. Daniel nodded, reviewing the financial statements. He'd handpicked this board himself, ensuring each member understood the consequences of betrayal. The lessons from 10 years ago remained fresh, carved into corporate memory through annual ethics training that used the previous board's downfall as a case study. His phone buzzed with a message from Kendra. "Dad, we're still on for dinner?" Marcus wants to discuss the foundation's new initiative. A smile touched his lips. His daughter, now 25, had graduated summa cum laude from Yale Law School. She'd married Marcus Reynolds, her college sweetheart, in a ceremony that notably excluded her mother. Together, they ran the Lockwood Foundation, providing scholarships to children of domestic abuse survivors. Meeting adjourned, Daniel announced, gathering his files. "Sandra, walk with me." In the corridor, his COO matched his stride. The prison called again. "Miranda's requesting another visitation." Same answer as always. Daniel hadn't spoken to his ex-wife since her conviction. Miranda had served 8 years for corporate fraud before being released to a halfway house. Her attempts at contact, letters, calls, messages through intermediaries, met the same stone wall of silence. "She's working at a small legal aid office now," Sandra continued. "Claims she's changed. People like Miranda don't change. They just find new masks to wear." His driver waited with the car. Chicago's financial district had evolved over the decade, but some things remained constant, like the power lunch he shared with Kendra each Wednesday at Gibson's Steakhouse. The restaurant's private room held memories. 10 years ago, he'd celebrated here after Miranda's conviction. Today, he found Kendra and Marcus already seated, their faces bright with news. "Dad!" Kendra rose to embrace him. Pregnancy suited her, 6 months along with his first grandchild. "We just got the final approval. The Foundation's domestic violence shelter opens next month." Daniel studied his daughter's face, seeing no trace of the traumatized 15-year-old who'd witnessed her mother's betrayal. Years of therapy with Dr. Moyer had healed those wounds, transforming pain into purpose. "The board approved the additional funding," he said. $10 million for the first year, with matching funds for all donations. Marcus Reynolds, tall, principled, and utterly devoted to Kendra, beamed. "We've already received commitments from 3 major donors. The shelter will be able to help hundreds of families." Their discussion turned to the Foundation's work, but Daniel's attention caught on a familiar face entering the restaurant. Randolph Phelps, aged dramatically by the years, sat alone at the bar. After testifying against Miranda, he'd moved to Arizona, attempting to rebuild his life with the modest consulting firm Daniel allowed him to keep. "Isn't that?" Kendra trailed off, following his gaze. "Yes. He comes to Chicago twice a year for medical treatment." Daniel had maintained surveillance on all the former board members, tracking their diminished lives. Beverly Browning had served 5 years, emerging to find her children grown and estranged. She worked as a bookkeeper at a small firm in Milwaukee, her gambling addiction replaced by Gamblers Anonymous meetings. Christian Kelly's second family had reunited with his first wife after his death from heart failure 3 years ago. They shared his modest pension, his fortune lost to legal fees and restitution payments. Mike Powell, permanently disbarred, sold real estate in Florida. His ex-wife Bernadette had risen to become a federal judge, her prosecution of corruption cases citing the Criterion scandal as inspiration. The Foundation received another donation request from Mom, Marcus mentioned carefully. "She's working with domestic violence survivors now, claims she wants to make amends." Daniel's expression hardened. No contact. No exceptions. Kendra squeezed his hand. I know. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. After lunch, Daniel returned to his office at Criterion. Celeste, who'd followed him from his law firm, managed his schedule with the same quiet efficiency. She'd rejected 3 CEO offers over the years, stating simply that loyalty mattered more than titles. Your 3 o'clock is here, she announced. The Yale law student you sponsored, Sarah Chun, Sandra's niece, entered with a confidence that reminded Daniel of Kendra. She'd won the Lockwood Foundation's first scholarship, her mother a survivor who'd rebuilt her life after escaping abuse. Mr. Lockwood, Sarah began, I wanted to thank you personally. The scholarship, it changed everything for my family. Daniel gestured to a chair. Tell me your plans after graduation. Prosecution. White-collar crime unit. Her eyes held steel. I want to make sure people like Miranda Powell Lockwood can't hurt others. Good answer. Daniel reached for a file. I have some cases you should review. Lessons in how corruption disguises itself as love. That evening, driving home to his penthouse apartment, Daniel passed the building that had once housed his law firm. Lockwood & Associates had merged with a larger firm years ago, his focus shifting entirely to Criterion and the Foundation. His phone buzzed, a news alert about Miranda. She'd been interviewed for a piece on corporate rehabilitation, claiming remorse for her actions. The article mentioned her volunteer work at domestic violence shelters, her attempts to reconnect with her daughter, her supposed redemption. Daniel deleted the alert without reading further. A decade hadn't softened his stance. Some betrayals required eternal consequences. In his apartment, he reviewed photos from Kendra's recent foundation gala. His daughter stood surrounded by scholarship recipients, her smile genuine, her mother's manipulation transformed into a mission to help others. The foundation's work had earned national recognition, its approach to domestic violence prevention cited as a model program. Another message arrived from Gloria Simmons, Miranda's former attorney. She'd retired to teach ethics at Northwestern Law, using the Criterion case to illustrate the importance of due diligence. Saw Miranda's interview, Gloria wrote. Thought you should know. It's all an act. She's still trying to manipulate public opinion. Some people never change, Daniel replied. Later that night, he stood at his apartment window, surveying the city he'd conquered. Criterion's logo glowed on the skyline, a testament to how thoroughly he destroyed and rebuilt after Miranda's betrayal. The Foundation's new shelter rose nearby, its purpose a direct response to the trauma his daughter had endured. His phone buzzed one final time, Kendra sending an ultrasound image. His grandson, active and healthy, due in 3 months. They'd already chosen a name, Daniel Marcus Reynolds. A new generation, untouched by betrayal, protected by the empire his revenge had built. A text followed the image. Love you, Dad. Thanks for always protecting me. Daniel smiled, remembering his words from a decade ago. Nothing in this world could make him love his daughter less. That truth had guided action, decision, consequence he'd engineered. Miranda's betrayal had cost her everything. Her marriage, her daughter, her career, her freedom. But from those ashes, Daniel had forged something stronger. A corporation dedicated to saving lives, a foundation healing broken families, and most importantly, a daughter who had transformed trauma into triumph. Some would call it revenge. Daniel called it justice, served cold, executed perfectly, and preserved as a warning to anyone who dared betray trust. The empire he'd built stood as testament to a simple truth. Actions had consequences, and some sins deserved no forgiveness. His grandson would inherit this legacy, not just wealth and power, but the knowledge that true strength lay in protecting those you loved, no matter the cost. The Lockwood name now stood for something beyond revenge. It represented justice, protection, and the unshakable bond between a father and his daughter. The night deepened over Chicago as Daniel reviewed Foundation reports. Tomorrow would bring another board meeting, another lunch with Kendra, another day of maintaining the empire he'd built from betrayal's ashes. The past decade had proven his methods right. Sometimes the most brutal revenge was simply ensuring justice prevailed, year after year, without mercy or forgiveness. Perfect endings, he mused, weren't about redemption. They were about consequences, carried forward through generations, ensuring that those who betrayed trust never escaped the price of their actions. In that, at least he had succeeded beyond measure. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen, and I'll see you there.